mentioned that pacifism and the idea that the kingdom of God is breaking in, or the world is being remade, and the kingdom of God are linked. Could you mention just more about that?
Right. How are we doing for time?
7 minutes or so.
7. Okay. Right. Right. Well, this is a side theme, but it's one that's been essential to my concerns because once a fundamentalist background introduces you to the New Testament, makes the New Testament your guide, you have to face the fact that it is that part of the repertoire, central to the repertoire, is the prohibition of violence. And so the question then becomes, how is it that a religion that was so strong on the issue of non-violence, only one is conceivably stronger, and that's Buddhism, how does that religion become part of the power system? And that is pretty well the most fundamental question you can ask about how is it that a repertoire which is so anti-violence can actually become part of the political system that is inherently based on force and which can even justify the idea of the crusade. Now, how does that happen? My belief is the whole of the sociology of religion can be understood if you simply work out how that can occur. The shift from a voluntary group which is separated from the structures of power and which rejects violence and expects a transformation in human relations where violence will not be an essential part of it, where actually mutuality and the relationships, the mutual relationships, the New Jerusalem, the new city, will actually be instantiated. How does that, once it's incorporated in the structures of power, come to hold that the Roman Empire is a kind of version of the New Jerusalem, so that the gates and the borders of New Jerusalem need to be defended against the barbarians, so that Romanitas and Christianity become closely interfused, how that the structures of power on which any society rests, now this is a crucial bit, any society rests, become built into the way in which the religion understands itself, and how it then defends the borders of its particular imperium against other alternative forms of world religion. I'm sort of sketching how this works in a very rapid way. Originally, when I wanted to study pacifism, because I was a pacifist and I undid myself after 10 years of study, I undid my own belief, which was it's a hard thing to happen. But I did conclude that all societies are to some extent founded on an element of force. That's inherent. But that also that the relationships between societies are semi-Hobbesian, if I can put it that way. That international relations, and we have international relations students here, are on a highly competitive, interested basis. The expansion of power and at the expense of other people. And every hegemon is trying to defend its particular hegemonic position against other possible hegemons. So once you have that system, which, and by the way, it is not just religions that do this. There was a form of political eschatology, of political hope, of political utopia, which said exactly the same thing. If only we find that form, if only we can eliminate that element in human society that is causing this, e.g. religion, then we can have peace, right? So the argument of religion was turned against itself by political forms of utopia. What happened? those political forms of utopia proved to exhibit exactly the same characteristics as have been exhibited by established Christianity. Then the question becomes, what is it about the constitution of society that means whether you have a political expectation or a religious expectation, there is a deep built-in resistance? And I'm not going to develop that now, but that is the question that I think this seminar pretty well has to investigate.